A man knows when he feels something, but he doesn't always understand it. And when the connection is deeper than he expected, it throws him off balance in ways he can't hide. It's strange how connection works. It doesn't always show up as clarity. Sometimes, the moments that feel the most real are the ones that leave him quiet, unsettled, unsure of what he's supposed to do next. And the truth is, when a man feels a connection he wasn't prepared for, he doesn't lean into it immediately. He hesitates. He watches. He tries to steady himself in the middle of emotions he didn't see coming. His reactions may look like mixed signals. His pauses may look like uncertainty. His quietness may look like distance. But it's not what you think. Not at all. Because when a connection hits him deeper than he expected, it doesn't make him confident. It makes him careful. It makes him slow down. Not because he feels less, but because he suddenly feels more than he knows how to navigate. And that's where the confusion begins. Most people assume that when a man feels something real, he becomes more expressive. But men who feel deeply don't always express deeply. Sometimes the strongest feelings show up as a shift, a softness in his energy, a pause in his rhythm, a quiet moment he can't explain. And that confusion he feels, it shows up in places most women overlook. If you don't recognize those places, you'll misread his hesitation as disinterest, when in reality, it's the moment his emotions are waking up faster than his certainty can catch up. Stay with me, because once you learn to read these subtle reactions, the ones he doesn't talk about, the ones he doesn't even fully understand, yet you'll see the difference between a man who's unsure about you and a man who's unsure about himself because he feels something powerful. And before we get into the first sign, here's something important I want you to hear. A man who feels nothing stays steady. A man who feels something real gets shaken. Now, let's talk about the first way his confusion reveals itself long before he ever admits what's really going on inside him. You'll notice the first shift in a place that doesn't look dramatic at all, the way he reacts when you enter his space. Not with words, not with flirting, but with a subtle change in his energy that he tries to keep controlled. When a man feels a connection he didn't expect, his awareness of you heightens before he's even conscious of it. He becomes attuned to your presence. Not possessively, not anxiously, just involuntarily. He'll pause for a second when you walk into the room. He'll sit a little straighter. His attention flickers toward you, even if he pretends it didn't. It's not something he plans. It's something that happens to him. Because connection doesn't announce itself, it interrupts him. It catches him off guard. It rearranges the spaces in his mind, without his permission. And that interruption creates confusion. He wonders why his mood shifts slightly when you show up. He wonders why the conversation feels different when you're a part of it. He wonders why he suddenly becomes more aware of himself, his tone, his posture, the way he responds. He doesn't know how to explain it yet, so he won't say anything. He'll just feel it, quietly. You might notice him becoming more observant, but not in the same way a man who's trying to impress you does. It's softer, more internal. He's studying the connection, not you as a goal. He's trying to understand why something in him shifts whenever you're around, why he relaxes in some moments, and tenses in others, and can't fully trace the reason for either. The confusion isn't about you, it's about the way he's reacting to you. Because deep down, connection makes him more vulnerable than he expected. It makes him more open than he's ready to be. It makes him feel like something important is happening before he can name what that something is. And the more he feels it, the more he tries to steady himself. Which is why the signs show up quietly, subtly, in those small moments where he thinks no one is watching. But those are exactly the moments that reveal everything. Another sign he feels a connection that confuses him is the way he becomes unexpectedly inconsistent with his confidence around you. Not in a dramatic way, just in the tiny moments where something inside him stumbles. He'll be perfectly relaxed one moment, and then suddenly quieter the next. He'll joke with ease. and then hesitate right when the conversation turns a little more personal. It's not because he's losing interest. It's because connection puts him in unfamiliar territory. See, men know how to operate when everything feels simple. But when something or someone hits a deeper emotional layer, his usual rhythm gets disrupted. He overthinks things he normally wouldn't. He pauses before saying what he actually wants to say. He gets thoughtful in places where he used to be effortless. You'll feel it in the subtle shift of his tone, the way he takes a breath before responding, the way he seems to search for the right words, but can't quite find them fast enough. It's not that he doesn't have the words. It's that he doesn't want to reveal the wrong ones. Because connection raises the stakes, even when he hasn't admitted to himself why. And here's the part most people miss. Men don't second-guess themselves when they don't care. They only second-guess themselves when the outcome matters. His confusion isn't about whether he likes you. It's about whether he's ready for what liking you could turn into. He's trying to stay composed. He's trying not to show the effect you have on him. He's trying to understand why he suddenly cares about the impression he leaves on you. And that internal tug of war makes him quieter in moments where he used to be the most comfortable. For a man, emotional connection doesn't always feel warm at first. Sometimes it feels destabilizing. It feels revealing. It feels like stepping closer to something he isn't sure he can handle yet. So he slows down. He pauses. He measures himself, not because he's unsure about you, but because he's unsure how to show up for a feeling he didn't expect to have. There's another shift you'll notice, one he won't recognize in himself until much later. It appears in the way he subtly adjusts how he interacts with you compared to everyone else. Not in big gestures, not in obvious displays of affection, but in the quiet contrast, the way his behavior softens around you without him deciding to soften. He'll respond to others quickly and casually, but with you, there's a slight pause, as if he's choosing his words more carefully. He'll joke freely with everyone, but with you, he becomes a little more mindful, a little more intentional. It's not strategy. It's not manipulation. It's instinct. Connection makes him more aware, not of you, but of himself around you. He notices how he sounds. He notices what he reveals. He notices when you react in a way that hits him somewhere he didn't expect. And that heightened awareness confuses him because he doesn't know what to do with it yet. He doesn't want to misstep. He doesn't want to overdo things. He doesn't want to show too much too soon. But he also doesn't want to lose whatever this feeling is that keeps pulling him toward you. So, he shifts into this careful middle ground. He's warmer than usual, but not expressive. He's present, but not forward. He's thoughtful, but not obvious. And the interesting part? He probably thinks he's being subtle when he's not. Not to someone paying attention. His confusion shows in the way he filters himself. Not to hide from you, but because he suddenly cares how he comes across. Men don't regulate themselves around someone they feel nothing for. They do it around someone whose opinion matters more than they saw coming. And without realizing it, he begins treating you differently, with a quiet respect, a slower pace, a gentler tone. It's not attraction anymore. It's something deeper forming that he hasn't named yet. Something that both pulls him in and makes him cautious. There's a moment you'll see in him that reveals far more than he ever intends to show. The moment he becomes quietly affected by things you say without understanding why it hits him the way it does. It happens when you share something personal, something vulnerable, something soft. He won't always respond right away. He won't jump in with advice or try to fix anything. He'll just pause. Not because he doesn't know what to say, but because he feels the weight of your words more than he expected. You'll notice his eyes soften for a second, or his breathing shifts, or he looks at you with a kind of stillness that wasn't there a moment ago. That stillness is not disinterest. It's resonance. It's impact. And it confuses him because he doesn't understand why your feelings suddenly matter to him so much. He might change the topic too quickly. He might sit in silence longer than usual. He might give a short answer, even though he's feeling a lot internally. Connection does that. It makes him more emotionally responsive than he planned to be. Your mood affects his. Your tone adjusts his. Your vulnerability touches something he didn't realize was open. And this is the part he won't admit, not even to himself. You make him feel more than he's comfortable showing. That's where the confusion comes in. He doesn't know if he's supposed to lean into it or protect himself from it. He doesn't know if this feeling is safe or if it's going to pull him into something deeper than he's ready for. But you'll see the truth in those little pauses, the moments where he has nothing to hide behind, nothing to distract himself with, nothing to shield him from the connection that keeps slipping through the cracks anyway. And the more he feels that shift, the quieter he becomes. Not because he's shutting down, but because he's trying to understand why your emotions suddenly live inside his, in a way he can't fully explain. There's another sign he feels a connection that confuses him, the way he becomes subtly protective without ever announcing it. Not the dramatic, over-the-top kind. Not the, let me swoop in and save you kind. Something quieter, something instinctive. You'll see it in the way he pays attention when you mention something stressful, in the way he slows down when he senses you're overwhelmed, in the way he listens a little more carefully when your voice softens or shifts. He won't make a big deal out of it. He won't claim a role in your life he hasn't earned. He won't say, I'm here for you, out loud. But his energy changes. His tone drops. His presence becomes steadier, almost without him realizing he's doing it. And that shift confuses him, because he doesn't feel this way toward everyone, only toward you. A man can be kind to anyone, but this isn't kindness. It's concern. It's awareness. It's investment he hasn't consciously agreed to, but can't seem to turn off. If you mention something that bothers you, he gets a little quiet. He listens longer. He processes harder. He takes a second before responding, as if what you said now matters more than it used to. He notices things he wouldn't normally notice. Your tiredness, your frustration, your unspoken emotions. And each time he reacts to them, a part of him wonders, why do I care this much? Where did this instinct come from? Why does her world pull at me like this? That's the confusion he won't say out loud. He feels responsible for your emotional moments, but he doesn't understand why, or what that means, or what he's supposed to do with it. So, instead of overstepping, he softens. He becomes more careful with his words, more thoughtful with his responses, more attuned to your feelings, while pretending he's not. A man who feels nothing is unaffected, but a man who feels a connection he can't explain. He reacts quietly, almost protectively, in ways he never planned for. And every time he catches himself doing it, he feels that internal tension grow, the pull toward you, and the uncertainty about what comes next. There's another moment where his confusion becomes almost impossible for him to hide. The moment he gets unexpectedly quiet, when something about you catches him off guard emotionally. It could be something simple, the way you laugh, the way you look at him for a second too long, the way you say something honest without realizing how deeply it lands. He doesn't react the way you'd expect. He doesn't flirt back right away. He doesn't joke it off. He doesn't turn it into a light, playful moment. Instead, he freezes just a little. He goes still. Not because he's uncomfortable, but because he feels something sharper, deeper, and far more vulnerable than he was prepared for. It's a flash of awareness, a moment where he suddenly sees you differently, a moment where the connection shifts from familiar to meaningful. And meaningful scares him more than he wants to admit. You might notice his expression soften for just a heartbeat, or his eyes stay on you a little longer than usual. Or his voice gets lower, quieter, slower when he finally responds. He's not trying to hide anything. He's trying to understand what just happened inside him. Because connection doesn't always hit like lightning. Sometimes it hits like recognition, a quiet knowing that slips beneath his guard before he can pull himself together. And when he feels that, His instinct is to pause, to gather himself, to breathe through a feeling that arrived uninvited. He asks himself questions he doesn't say out loud. Why did that moment affect me so much? Why do I suddenly feel nervous? What is happening to me right now? This is the kind of silence that isn't emptiness. It's emotional impact. It's the realization that you mean more than he expected. It's the awareness that something inside him is unfolding faster than he planned. It's the moment he feels the connection and can't unfeel it. His confusion isn't because the feeling is weak. It's because the feeling is too strong and arrived too soon. Men don't go quiet when they don't care. They go quiet when something matters, when something reaches them, when something about you slips straight past their defenses and touches a place they didn't think was open. That's the silence you'll start noticing more and more. The silence of someone who's beginning to feel something real and trying to steady himself before he lets it show. Another subtle shift appears in the way he behaves after moments where the connection feels stronger than he intended, not during the moment afterwards. You'll notice he sometimes pulls back just a little, not disappearing, not detaching, just retreating into himself for a short while. This confuses women, but for him, it's the only way he knows how to process something that suddenly feels bigger than he can define. Maybe the two of you had a meaningful conversation. Maybe you shared a vulnerable story. Maybe you looked at him in a way that made his chest tighten. Maybe he felt a kind of comfort around you that he doesn't feel with anyone else. Whatever it was, it touched him. And when something touches him, his instinct isn't to move forward right away. It's to step back and examine the feeling from a safe distance. He's not pulling away from you. He's pulling back into himself. He tries to understand why that moment left such an impact, why something you said keeps replaying in his mind, why your presence lingered with him long after you left, why he suddenly feels like he has more to lose than he realized. This temporary retreat isn't avoidance, it's recalibration. He needs a moment to ground himself, to regain emotional balance, to make sense of a feeling that moved faster than his logic. And here's what most people don't realize. If he felt nothing, he wouldn't need space to think. A man only steps back to process when something has reached him deeply enough to disrupt his normal emotional patterns. And when he returns, because he will return, he shows up with a slightly different softness, a more intentional tone, a quiet curiosity about where this connection could go. He may not say anything directly, but his presence says it for him. I felt something, and I'm trying to figure out what it means. This push and pull isn't a sign of disinterest. It's a sign of depth beginning to form. A sign of a man who's adjusting to emotions he didn't expect and trying not to let fear move faster than the connection itself. There's one more sign, the clearest one, the sign he can't hide, no matter how confused he feels inside. It's the way he keeps coming back to you, not always in bold moves, not always in long conversations, not always in obvious romantic gestures, but in the small, consistent ways he finds his way back into your space. He'll restart a conversation that faded earlier. He'll reply even when he doesn't know what to say. He'll send something simple just to reconnect the thread between you. He'll look for small reasons, any reason to re-establish the warmth. And he does this because connection, real connection, has a pull he can't ignore. He may retreat for a moment to catch his breath, but he won't stay away. He can't. Because even if he's confused by what he feels, even if he's unsure of what it means, even if he doesn't trust himself to navigate it perfectly, he feels drawn to you in a way that's stronger than his hesitation. You'll notice this pattern. He steps back slightly, then he drifts right back in with a softness he doesn't show anyone else. It's almost like he's testing the connection, making sure it's still there, and every time he finds that it is, something in him settles. This returning isn't casual, it's not convenience, it's not boredom, it's emotional gravity. A man doesn't keep coming back to something that confuses him, unless the connection matters more than the confusion. And here's the part he'll never say out loud. He's not coming back for attention. He's not coming back for validation. He's not coming back out of habit. He's coming back because something in you feels like home before he's ready to admit it. That return, that gentle, unforced, repeated return, is the truth slipping through his uncertainty. It's the sign that even if he can't name the connection yet, he feels it, and he trusts it enough to keep moving toward you, one quiet step at a time. When you look back at all these moments, the shift in his energy, when you walk into the room, the small stumbles in his confidence, the way he becomes more intentional with his words, the softness that appears when you open up, the quiet protectiveness he tries to hide, the stillness that settles over him when something about you hits deeper, the brief retreat after a meaningful moment, and the unmistakable way he always finds his way back, a picture begins to form. A man who feels nothing doesn't react like this. He doesn't get thoughtful. He doesn't get shaken. He doesn't get pulled into an emotional rhythm he can't explain. Only a man who feels a connection, one that surprises him, one that confuses him, one that challenges the emotional guard he's built, shows these quiet shifts. Connection doesn't always come with certainty. Sometimes it comes with hesitation. Sometimes it comes with a pause. Sometimes it comes with a quiet, "What is happening to me?" long before he ever says anything out loud. Men don't always fall with clarity. Sometimes they fall with questions. Sometimes they fall with caution. Sometimes they fall in the small spaces between words, where the truth shows up before the courage does. So, if you've been sensing something real in those subtle moments, you're not imagining it. You're seeing the signs of a man who feels a connection that unsettles him, softens him, pulls him in ways he didn't prepare for. And even if he hasn't named it, his behavior already has. If this opened your eyes or helped you understand something you've been feeling, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss more insight like this. And tell me in the comments, which of these signs did you recognize first? And did it make more sense after hearing this?